We're here to talk about the midterms in the spring of 2022. Let's first talk, Julia, about the Joe Biden presidency, because that's really what the midterm is about. You think about last summer, July, COVID seemed to be going away. Everyone thought they'd be back in their offices in the fall. Biden's numbers were good. And then Afghanistan happened. How is the Biden presidency going as far as what he wants to accomplish and also his approval ratings?
I think Republicans will point to that summer, late summer, when we saw the rise of the Delta variant and that spread, as well as the pullout of Afghanistan, which was really botched on the Biden administration's part. That was the start of Joe Biden's troubles. And then from there, we obviously got into inflation really starting to slowly rise up. We know that right now the Biden administration is trying to blame inflation on the war in Ukraine and calling it Putin's price hike. But we know that Republicans have been messaging on this since at least last summer in 2021. So we saw it starting to tick up. And then we saw the Omicron surge in late 2021. And it seemed like a lot of the progress the Biden administration had seemed to make in terms of the vaccine rollout and not wearing masks anymore was done away with over this crisis of a lack of testing in the United States. So that was, another trouble. And then on top of that, you have the situation in Ukraine, which definitely, to a certain degree, has played a role in the economy. We're seeing the prices of goods such as wheat and really across the board really continue to rise, contributing to inflation. Gas prices are going up. And even though the president can't necessarily directly control gas prices or to an extent inflation, we do know that Americans are going to be looking for a villain, someone to blame, and that is Joe Biden because he is in charge. On top of that, there's also the historical precedent of the first-term president's first midterm election and his or her party continuously losing seats during that time.
Not looking good for Democrats, but politics change, right, Julie? I mean, things could change. I think COVID has a big effect. We're still in a pandemic, but I also think, don't you think that Joe Biden would need some type of big bill? Build back better, maybe some slimmed down version. I mean, they haven't really passed anything on healthcare other than COVID, and that's not going so great, but they haven't done prescription drug pricing. Do you think he needs another, a few more signing ceremonies to say, we did this?
Yes, I think he does, and I don't think infrastructure is enough, or even the American Rescue Plan. I talk to Democratic operatives all the time, and they continuously bring up the American Rescue Plan. Well, the American Rescue Plan was passed in spring or, early summer of 2021. Voters have short memories. I don't think they're thinking about it the way that Democrats would like them to think about it. And I think it's interesting that you bring up COVID, because we seem to be, knock on wood, at the seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. But Philadelphia is going to reinstate their mask mandate. And then we have American University, George Washington University, other colleges and institutions starting to reinstate their indoor mask mandates. Republicans have very much pounced on that, saying Democrats have always made the pandemic about politics. Depending on what happens with COVID, that could play into Republicans' hands as well. If things improve, if the economy improves, that will make things easier for Democrats in the environment. But if we start to see a return to a lot of these stricter COVID measures at the state level, I think Democrats are going to be very concerned about that.
Yeah, they've got a lot to be concerned about. Julia, thanks so much for the discussion.
Thanks, Bob.